Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sangham namasami. Welcome, friends, for this Tuesday night Dhamma program at the Dhamma Monastery. We have with us today Venerable Kachayana Bhikkhuni behind me, and also we have in the room Seminary Satyama, and we have Anagarika Mitakanti. And I want to give a very special welcome to Patipada, who is in the building. She has arrived for a period of residency with us. She'll be practicing and helping us here. And at the moment, Patipada is in a brief quarantine at our monastery, meaning that she has the gift of a few days of personal retreat time. I announced a theme for tonight as vijjāvimutti, clear knowing and release. As we prepare for our meditation, one can imagine the trajectory from a terrible, distracted life, being caught up in reactions and emotions and pressures and desires and what we like or what we don't like, or what we accept or we don't accept. And in that state, we've got to take hold of the goals or the things that we've decided need to be taken care of. Or if there's any unsolved mysteries in life, we've got to get a grip on them and struggle. It can be sometimes that things are not the way they should be, and then the mind gets very involved in trying to imagine a different reality, like if only some person in our life would change themselves in ABCD ways, then there wouldn't be a problem for us anymore. Or if only some circumstance in our life could be changed from what it is, then it wouldn't be a problem for us anymore. And so then, while all of this is going on, the opportunity to have self-knowledge or to understand our own inner work is quite a bit limited, because there's so much noise, so much of a ruckus. But as we practice, it could be as we are here at the monastery practicing in a longer retreat time with more quiet time and with less external pressures, less outside things to do, that then some of the same residual of that storm within could be coming up for us. But now we have the opportunity to face it, the opportunity to look within and just understand in a different way what's really going on. And if we're very fortunate, it could happen that there's some kind of a distress or turmoil happening that's combined with actually not really understanding it, not understanding what the significance is, what the meaning is. And just by relaxing and doing a kind of an inquiry, so what is this? What's really happening now? It can happen that the light comes on and we realize in a different way what's really going on. And it can happen that with that realization, with that understanding, the tension or the pressure, the turmoil just drains out of the situation, and one is able to be at peace. Even at a very a simple kind of level. This happened to me once. It happened to me a long time ago. I was on a self-retreat, and the mind was restless, and I was having a lot of struggle just to take hold of the breath or the meditation object and just to be still. Just even doing the formal practice was very difficult at that particular moment. And at some point, I just admitted to myself, I'm not able to do this. And the minute that I admitted, I'm not able to do this, then I became able to. So there's something about the resistance and the struggle that was not allowing the mind to become peaceful enough to go into practice. But with that compassionate acceptance of just the way it is, mind can come in. Mind can settle down and be quiet. Even it could happen that the mind is, say, in a defensive kind of a posture, self-protective or whatever. And then in the peace and safety of a retreat situation, one can just say, well, what am I really afraid of? As long as one couldn't acknowledge that fear, one has to be in a kind of a turmoil of keeping the defenses put up. But when acknowledging what's really going on, then in the safety of this meditation space, it's possible to see what it's really like, what's really happening. Even if it's not very pretty, even if we see, the mind is taken up with fear, taken up with some kind of negativity. But when it's acknowledged, the mind can become calm. And when the mind becomes calm, then it's possible to see. When one is able to see, then that the truth is never a danger to us, never a harm to us. The truth is actually the safest place in the whole world. And by seeing what's really happening, then we become freed from the necessity of spinning in reactivity. Then we're not needing to protect anything, not even our own life. The mind can be more peaceful, more calm. And the more calm we can be, the more opportunities there are to look even more deeply and to see what it is that we're still holding on to. So let's sit for meditation, aiming for calmness, and also aiming to understand what's really happening, what's it really like. Within whatever extent of samadhi that we can put together, the greater the samadhi, the greater is the opportunity to notice the changes that are constantly happening, to see them as they really are. So let us come to a meditation posture. Aware of the physical body, feeling the weight of the body on the cushion or the chair. Letting the body be balanced. Relaxing the body. the sensations touching the body. Holding the entire body in awareness. Anything in the body that's tight or restless, relaxing around that. Knowing what it's like with awareness on the body. Could be many points of sensation here and there. Or could be like the whole body is held within this frame of awareness. If any thoughts come in, just let them be. Like the shadow of a cloud passing by. If the rise and fall of breath is noticeable, that's a part of the body. Welcoming that rise and fall of breath into awareness. Just staying for a while with the touching sensations anywhere in the body, including the breath. See if it's changing. Even this meditation. See how it's changing. Whatever's changing, just let it go. if any thoughts come in, and then come back to the body and see how the body is changing along with the thoughts. Returning to full awareness on the body. See how the body is changing. There is nothing to protect, nothing to defend, just complete openness to see what it's really like, what's really happening right now. So some of the factors that the Buddha said are supporting for the arising of this vijja, this knowledge. Well, what is vijja? What is vijja? It's the opposite of avidya. So, independent origination, we heard that suffering arises along a sequence of causation, which has its starting point, its very origination point as avidya. delusion or ignorance. And so then the vijja, this knowing quality, this wisdom factor, is exactly the knowing and understanding that enables us to step out of this circle of dukkha, that enables us to come to the end of the merry-go-round of formations and identity and craving and suffering. So it's a very wonderful something to be desired. The Buddha gave some perceptions that one could ponder and reflect about and develop those perceptions, and that would be support for the arising of this clear knowing. He mentioned the perception of anicca, seeing the impermanence. Every object that one may look at or experience is constantly changing, and then the mind itself is constantly changing. So you have two changing things, the changeable mind connected with the changeable object, and it's nothing but a continuous flux. So that's the first perception to be cultivated. So wonderful meditation, whether you're in the beginning, the middle, or the end, is to simply be with that observation, to notice in what respect whatever we are experiencing is changing. And then seeing the second perception. I'm giving you a list of 6. The second one is seeing the dukkha in anicca. What is that? Every time we try to hang on, every time we try to hang on, hold on, get something fixed, make it stay the same, then it changes, and the change is dukkha. Every time we want to stop change from happening, it's dukkha. So there's the dukkha there. And then the third perception. So it's seeing impermanence, seeing the dukkha in impermanence, and then seeing or having the perception of non-self in dukkha. So for an uninstructed person, they could think when dukkha arises, when they experience suffering, it could cause actually an arising of this delusion about the self. When you start to think, oh, why is this dukkha always happening to me? Why did I deserve this dukkha? Or some kind of thought like that. But then when we train the mind to recognize that this dukkha, it's a universal phenomenon shared by all sentient beings, not anything personal whatsoever. And then when we can get a hold of that anatta, that non-self, then we can see our way to the breakup of this dukkha. That's the third perception. So anicca, anatta, anicca, dukkha, anatta, there's three marks of existence, but this sequence is giving it in terms of relating them to each other, seeing the dukkha in the anicca, seeing the non-self in the dukkha. And then the next one is the perception of letting go. Here's we're getting up to the escape. When we see, every time we suffer, we see it's because we were clinging to something, because we were identifying with something, building up an identity around something, wanting something, trying to be in control, trying to exert our willpower on the situation. But if we then can let go of that, and then have the perception, have the clear knowing about this letting go. So it does happen in the ordinary course of life. A person who doesn't have any practice, they could be like, very, they could have like a grudge, for, and they could actually hold on to their grudge. You can seem like you're holding on to a grudge for 100 years. But actually, sometimes you forget about your grudge because you're distracted. It's time for lunch, so you forgot about the grudge because you're thinking about eating. Or it's time for sleep, so you forgot about your grudge because it's time for sleeping. And so actually, that grudge that you thought you had for 100 years is actually coming and going and coming and going, and it only comes back because somehow you are reviving it. But if you have directing the mind towards the cultivating the perception of letting go, then you can notice the moments, especially when you are holding on to something, the moment that it lets go. It's a very powerful thing to see, and an untrained person who doesn't have a practice, sometimes just because of impermanence, the painful states don't last forever because of impermanence. So just because of the cycle, sometimes they're not present. I experienced this very strongly during the third year of my hike on the Appalachian Trail. My partner had passed away, and I was hiking by myself. So sometimes I had a chance to go for 2 or 3 days without seeing another human being. And I began to see that when the weather was sunny and pleasant, my mood lifted and was cheerful. And when the weather was cold or difficult, my mood went towards grief and depression. And after a while, and this was especially because of not seeing other people, because one's identity is very much formed in reaction to people. I had no idea whether I was basically like a sad person who sometimes forgets to be sad, or am I a happy person who sometimes forgets to be happy? I didn't know which one was the real me. It was just ever-changing moods. The moods just kept changing. So this is seeing how whatever was clung to before can be let go of. And then you have the opportunity to choose to let go. This becomes the training of letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go of everything that's afflictive, everything that's toxic, everything that is clung to, everything that's identified with. And that comes to the next perception, which is the perception of viraga, which is this fading away, this dispassion, which is both how, with the training of the mind, the reactivity, the compulsive patterns can fade away, and the identity can fade away. And then the last of the perceptions is nirodha, which is the perception of cessation. That is definitely an epithet for nibbana, for the extinguishment of all the patterns that keep us forever on the move, forever going around and around, forever subject to different kinds of afflictions. So, there's a certain aspect of this practice which is kind of like a type of a self-improvement program or a type of a therapy where the most obvious negative habits of the mind, that which is obviously counterproductive and blocking happiness, blocking peace, that we can, because of following this path of practice, we can see how gradually those actively negative patterns become tranquilized and weakened and gradually eliminated, and then there are more universal patterns that human beings have that have to do with the pattern of the mind, how the mind wants to live, wants an identity, reaches for whatever kind of a contact or a stimulation or ideals or wishes or intentions that give us that comfort level of having some identity, so that then it seems to be that how could you possibly let go of that? Because it seems like, oh, this is natural, it's healthy, this is part of a healthy lifestyle. But then eventually you start to see the affliction in that, start to see the danger in that, and actually can try step by step by step, actually not hanging on to the things that you thought were essential. And it turns out that none of it is essential. None of it needs to be held on to. All of it can go. All of this practices that we do, cultivating the useful patterns in the mind that culminate in this knowledge and freedom, or this Tanisro translated as clear knowing and release. Okay, here's a puzzle for you. Sometimes you really understand what a fix you're in, but you still don't get the release. You know that this holding on to is just keeping you going around and around, but you're still not quite ready, not quite willing to just let it go. So then it's not like quite fulfilled. Now what the this gradual training is about is don't make that a problem. Don't, like in a materialistic way, use force, but do use your willpower or whatever energy or effort you have to try to live a life that supports meditation and practice meditation, striving for samadhi as much as you can, and don't just use meditation as like a holiday from your troubles, but use meditation as the opportunity to look more deeply, to see more clearly, to understand what's really going on with you. And then that's how this process, maybe it is a therapy after all, goes step by step by step until we are ready to cross over. So I apologize if my voice has been a little bit low today, but it is what it is, and I would like to welcome any questions about the meditation, or questions about, or comments about what you have experienced for yourself from your own practicing with this calmness, supporting insight, and the calm and insight together supporting greater and greater sense of freedom. Do you want to add something?
I see a hand up there.
Okay. Yes. Okay, Dilshan.
Permission from the Noble Triple Gem, permission from Venerable Sobana, permission from Venerable Kachayana, permission from all Venerables, Samaneris, Anagarikas at the Dhamma Monastery and the Hermitage, and all devotees. Yeah, when you were talking about this hatred and things like that that people hold on to for a long time, one thing that came to my mind was that, in Buddha's teachings, he says that there's this thing called astravas, which we have accrued in this infinitely long journey of samsara, which we have brought into this life as well, which can be a hindrance to our ultimate goal of Nibbana. So I'm curious, how would I know what kind of astravas I have which can keep me from my liberation? Is it through meditation only, or how can I do a sort of a self-assessment to know, hey, I know that this is my biggest hindrance. This is what I need to tackle. Is there a way for me to recognize? Please, uh, I would appreciate if you can please, present your comments on that. And thank you so much. And may the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.
Well, the standard list of the asavas are like, they're really deep down psychological formations that everybody has, that keeps us going around on samsara. And the taint of sensual desire, the asava of sensual desire, the asava of the craving for existence, and the asava of ignorance. In some of the lists they list views, but the list of the three is the most common. And actually, if you see that you're going off the deep end or you're going into some negativity, it could be useful for you to ask, which one of the three is it? Is this related to the sensual desire, like wanting to just take care of feeding the body, keeping the body comfortable, and so forth like that, or even feeling, wanting to protect the body if, if somebody has an injury or an illness and they go into a panic and, get very upset and disturbed because the pain in the body, that's also part of that same thing. And then the taint of being, the taint of existence has to do with somebody who's overcome the sensual desire still may have a desire to be reborn in heaven.
Yeah.
And so it's much more subtle than that. Somebody who's like really very good, they've cleared away all their sensual desires, but they still want to have an eternal life in heaven.
Right.
And so that's the second one. And then the taint of ignorance, that's like the distortion of the views, like something which is, you think it's permanent, but actually it's impermanent. That's kind of like an ignorance. So that would be one way of working at it, since you brought it out in terms of the asavas. When I mentioned about keeping a grudge for 100 years, I always had studied in Buddhism that like the feelings and emotions are very transient and impermanent. And you could see, like, someone who's very emotional in nature, you don't have to worry about it because you just wait a few minutes and then their mood will change and they won't be the same way anymore. But I happen to study like in some non-Buddhist philosophers about emotions, and one of them was a European philosopher was pointing to the hatred between the Serbian people and the Croatian people, and Serbo-Croatia. So there was something that happened 200 years before. And then both sides had their memorial days. So they would have a parade and carry their flag and remember like how much the other side had hurt them so much and how much they resented it and hated it. So they had to, in order to keep that emotion going, to get it like buried into the culture so that then mother gives it to the baby and it gets passed through the generations, because there's like this intention activity going to keep this alive. And I have to tell you this, after I learned that, I visited Kandy. There's a museum there at the Temple of the Tooth.
Okay.
And so there had been a terrorist attack
Yeah.
against that temple.
Yeah.
And the temple had set up a museum to remember how the terrorists had attacked them. And it was
Oh.
a recent event, so it was like mostly like photography of
Yeah.
of the event. And I thought, oh, this is not very wise. It's just like making people, think, remember that they have a grudge against the terrorists,
Yeah.
So it's better to, like we can use commemorations and ceremonies and things to remember things which are uplifting and inspiring that help the mind to uh, have develop faith and devotion. But it's also like when like the ignorant views have become ignorance has become embedded into uh, uh, a diluted philosophy, and then it gets perpetuated and passed down and taught and revived. So then there's all this like energy that goes into feeding it. So then you got to think whatever when you see in yourself the asavas that you have within yourself. Am I feeding this asava?
Mhm.
What am I doing that's going to nourish it and keep it alive?
Right.
And if I don't nourish it, then maybe that will make it easier to let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it rings me a bell now. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
May the blessings of the Noble Triple be with you.
Okay, Richard.
Thank you, Aya. I would say the most important thing is to attain sotapan, to become at least the beginning level of a noble disciple. In the Maha Malankya Sutta, Sutta number 64 in the Majjhima Nikaya, section numbered 6 by Bhikkhu Bodhi, says, a well-taught noble disciple who has regard for noble ones and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, who has regard for true men and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not abide with a mind obsessed and enslaved by identity view. He understands it as it actually is, the escape from the arisen identity view, and identity view together with the underlying tendency to it is abandoned in him. He does not abide with a mind obsessed and enslaved by doubt. By by adherence to rules and observances, by sensual lust, by ill will. He understands as it actually is the escape from the arisen ill will, and ill will, together with the underlying tendency to it, is abandoned in him. So I think the most important thing, if one really, wants to proceed further, is to attain this sotapan, and therefore the best thing one should do is read all the suttas in terms of wherever sotapan is discussed, and you'll get an idea after a while of what a sotapan is and how to attain it. And then you can truly proceed. But if you just try to proceed forward by understanding different parts of the Dharma and different parts of meditation and discipline in a what I would call straightforward, systematic way,
Mm-hmm.
One day maybe you're doing breath meditation, and the next day maybe you're thinking, okay, I'll do the Brahma Viharas, and another time you think, well, maybe I should contemplate this type of mindfulness or something, because nothing is quite holding your attention, or you're thinking, about this idea in the Dharma or that idea in the Dharma or whatever. You're not focusing on the actual problem, which is to overcome samsara, to overcome birth and death. And the key to it is attaining sotapan, because that sets you on the path, and it's irrevocable. It cannot be stopped at that point. So it may take up to 7 more types of existences, but it cannot be stopped, and it may not even take more than this existence if you're able to keep going in this existence. So I was very happy actually when you announced that this retreat you were going to focus on Sotapanna, because that really is the key, to the Buddha's teaching. And anyways, that's all I wanted to say about that. But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Richard. I have been holding back on developing the understanding about the three fetters which are taken away with stream entry. That's going to be coming up next week. For the longest time in my own practice, I was quite aware of those three fetters, and in particular, the losing the fetter of Sakkaya Ditthi, or having the identification or finding a self in any of the five aggregates. So that it always seemed to me that if that nut could be cracked, that the other two of those first three fetters would kind of take care of itself, and so that was a focus. But then more recently, in the preparation for this course, it was quite interesting to me to come across these other teachings about the prerequisites of stream entry in terms of associating with people of integrity, listening to the true Dhamma, learning how to give that yoniso manasikara the appropriate attention, and practicing in accord with the Dhamma. And so it's for that reason that I've been sort of pounding away on those four, even up through what we did this past week about the developing the factors of awakening was sort of like completing like the circle of practicing the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma to overcome hindrances and develop those factors of awakening. But it's absolutely true that having a great teacher, our Buddha, who was capable of explaining the Dhamma in the way that we could understand, and putting out a map, which is something that a human being is able to follow, and then listening to the Dhamma so you've got an idea of the map, and then to whatever degree, it could be shallow at first, and then as you go on, like with more and more clarity, you begin to realize and be able to like situate yourself within that map of the way to stream entry. So I agree with that. I want to call on Maisie.
Hi, dear Aya. Greetings from Singapore. Happy to be able to join again.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I just want to share, just now you were talking about how we can overcome difficulties. So I realized that the willpower to want to practice to overcome one's unwholesome habits is quite important. But at the same time, I realized that it also causes stress in aiming for a goal, in wanting to get out of suffering, in aiming to become enlightened. It also causes stress. So I realized that for me, from my own experience, the best way to overcome stress is actually to have the courage and faith to let go of wanting things my way or wanting to attain something, having the courage to let go of the five aggregates and realizing that that's not what I am. So that's all I want to share.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you.
So, dear friends, with that lovely thought, we've come to the end of our time. I would like to invite all of us to direct our attention towards the Buddha and to pay respects to the Triple Gem altogether.
Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Surakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.
Thank you, everyone, for your good practice and for your patient listening.
Can you share with us when is the retreat for the Sotapan?
Well, this entire course during the winter retreat has been on the theme of stream entry, starting with the prerequisites. And then we're having a day-long retreat this Sunday, the 25th.
Okay.
We're having another day-long retreat on March 3rd.
Okay.
And between February 25th and March 3rd, I invite everybody to really focus. And you can obtain your stream entry between that week. That's, and then we'll be just speaking in particular about the factors of a stream entry and what are the qualities of a stream winner.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was hard to hear you earlier.
I'm sorry. I apologize. The camera, I forgot to bring the mic back. So, a day-long retreat this coming Sunday, and another day-long retreat the following Sunday. So, February 25 and March 3. We got the 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock program already. We have it every Sunday. And then we'll also have a 7 a.m. with chanting the precepts and the refuges. And then 7 o'clock in the evening, we have an extra talk. So you get the Uposatha precepts, the two programs at 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock, and then an extra program at 7 o'clock on those 2 weekends. I'm going to say a little bit more about it. This is the Magha Puja, is this next Sunday. That's when the Buddha announced his enlightenment, announced the date of his parinibbana. And then the Buddha spent the following period of time up until Vesak teaching and teaching and teaching, going from here to there, teaching the Dhamma with even greater intensity. And then the founder of the Bhikkhunis Sangha, Mahapajapati Gotami, on that same Magha Puja day, February 25, she announced that she would have her parinibbana in 1 week. And then she spent 7 days teaching the Dhamma to her disciples. Of her disciples, 500 of her disciples who had ordained with her at the very beginning, who were all fully enlightened arahants, all made the determination to have their parinibbana together. So it's would be March 3rd. We can think of at dawn how the stars in the sky disappear with the rising of the sun. And so that's what it could be like if you could imagine 500 fully and one fully enlightened women going out to their final nibbana.
Thank you, Aya. Is it going to be the same link that we log on, or is it going to be via Zoom for the retreat?
Please visit dhamma-darini.net.
Aya.
Okay, so everyone in the meeting, visit dhamma-darini.net and register yourself for those 2 weekends, and then we'll send you the links for it.
Thank you, Aya.
You're welcome.
3 bow to the teacher.